Good afternoon, everyone. It is so wonderful to see all of you all here engaged in our what I believe to be our final wrap-up budget session. It is now 2:44, and we will begin. First, I want to invite our mayor up, Mayor Paul Young, to make a quick introduction before we get started.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. As you know, this is one of the most important times of the year for all of us working in government. This is when we establish our priorities. This is always a challenging time. We have difficult conversations. This is where the sausage is made, but I know that you all are deeply committed, as are we, to ensuring that we present a budget that's going to get results for the people of our community. I know there are a lot of different entities that will be presenting today. I think we'll also talk about some of the proposals that have been on the table. Look forward to that dialogue. And since I'm up here, I also want to acknowledge we have a lot of people in the room, but we do have a new director right now, interim director of parks. And so I just wanted to ask Mr. Justice Bolden to stand up and come up and just say a quick word, just hello. Just, I know you're on the spot. You didn't know I was going to do that. But since you're here with the council members, I think it'd be a good opportunity for him to just say hello as we get ready to kick into this budget.
Thank you, Mayor Young. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Director Justice Bolden. I am a native Memphian, born and raised here in Memphis. I actually spent about a decade here with the City of Memphis Parks from 2002 to 2012, and I'm just excited and happy to be back before you today.
And you'll hear more from him, but look forward to the dialogue today, and thank you guys for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Mayor Young. First, we're going to start off with a presentation from the Downtown Memphis Commission. Well, actually, let me back up. Roll call. Let's do roll call first.
Councilman Ford Sr., Councilwoman Walker, present. Chair White. Oh, Councilwoman Cooper Sutton, present. Chair White,
present. Thank you. All right, we are ready for DMC. Please present yourselves, and you can proceed with your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Shandell Ryan, President and CEO of Downtown Memphis Commission. To my left is Penelope Springer. She's our CFO, and members of the team, if you would just wave, there are many of them here in support of this budget today. So thank you for the opportunity to speak. If you recall, at the last meeting, we were asked several questions. So this presentation attempts to go through and respond to all of the questions that were presented. We also submitted documents on Friday that were our audited accounting records for some of the other entities affiliated with DMC. So you already have those documents previously. With that, I'll get started with our presentation. I want to just start by saying that I realize that downtowns have faced significant challenges in recent years, considering the pandemic, inflation, and economic shifts have slowed progress, and both in real and perceived concerns about crime affected how locals and visitors experience our downtown. However, we believe that challenges create opportunities, and our current priority at DMC is to do everything possible to accelerate the growth of downtown, address blight, and actively fill vacant spaces. We have to improve how people experience downtown now. The quickest way to change people's experience is by having beautification on steroids, is what I like to say. If it's not attractive, then it does not feel safe. And we are utilizing every tool available to elevate downtown, support local businesses, attract new investments, and encourage more people to return to the heart of our city. In partnership with the City of Memphis and other stakeholders, we seek additional state funding that we will help to invest in downtown's future. I must emphasize that we have seen the neighborhoods around downtown grow over the last few years, with many developments directly resulting from DMC incentives. In Uptown, we're witnessing real momentum through projects like the Conwood in the Medical District DMC incentives, have supported a cluster of both large and small developments. These surrounding neighborhoods are gaining traction, and now it's time for us to accelerate similar growth within our downtown core. Catalytic projects such as 100 North Main and Sturg Building will be game changers. However, to unlock its full potential, we need more large-scale transformative developments in downtown core. That's why we are finalizing our new strategic plan that outlines immediate and long-term actions to stimulate growth, strengthen the downtown core, and create better connections between districts. Of course, we understand that nothing matters if people do not feel safe, welcome, and inspired when they are downtown. That's why we are heavily investing in public safety, cleanliness, and hospitality. No matter how much we build, it's essential that people feel safe in our downtown now. And we are committed to creating a downtown for everyone and a downtown that is clean, safe, vibrant, and equally focused on the urgent needs of growth. So with that, I'll get started. There were a lot of questions about other entities that are associated with DMC. This budget approval today is about the DMC board and the funds that we use to do our everyday work, but we are also affiliated with 4 other areas of our entity, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about those because we did have some questions about it. But first, starting with the DMC board, in general, DMC board provides our strategic leadership and oversight for the work that we do every day. And again, it is funded by an assessment on commercial property, and we do all we can to make downtown active, walkable, clean, safe, inclusive, and interesting. I wanted to provide some context. There were some conversations about what other cities are doing and opportunities for us to do different things. So I wanted to provide you a study that we completed last year that shows the amount of our budget versus other downtowns and the amount of dollars that they receive based on their funding structures. So this is just to show the limitations that we have on the ability for us to do more than what we're doing. We are, of course, stretching dollars, and I know you all are very familiar with that, but this just shows you how we compare to other cities. There was a question about how our expenses for the new Blue Suede Brigade, Clean, Green, and Safety team will function, or how the dollars will be laid out across that contract. So this slide here just shows the breakdown of personnel expenses, materials and supplies, admin support, and for the total amount of this contract is $2.9 million. We will be having 40 employees. Currently in this space, we have about 35, so we'll be expanding to additional employees to help do this work. There were questions about what we do to fight against blight. This is also included in the DMC's budget. You can see over the last 4 years the amount of lawsuits we've been engaged in. We're currently engaged in 11 active cases, and there are some other cases that are downtown that we work with the city on navigating, but you can see that we're very active in the amount of blight work that we do. This picture that you see on the left is something that happened some years ago where DMC was really a part of getting this blighted property removed from the owner at the time and turned into the canopy, which is a wonderful amenity for our downtown core. There were questions about what we do to beautify downtown and what our strategy is around that. We focus heavily on beautifying the core. The 2 pictures you see on the left, the top picture, I don't know if you've seen yet the lighting that the catenary lights that were placed between the Mobility Center and the Orpheum Theater. That was done using incentives from our CCDC organization, and also for the gateway into the Pinch. The bottom photo shows an art installation that was done in order to attract people and make it more walkable on the way to the Pinch. That is the interstate underpass that's between the Convention Center and the Pinch neighborhood. But part of what we do is looking at beautifying the downtown core. We want to extend beautification efforts into surrounding neighborhoods and make them feel special and create their own vibe. We also are really interested in the corridors that connect into downtown. There are a number of them that need a lot of work. So that is a focus of ours. Again, we have limited funding, but these are all things that are high priority on our minds. And we are working within the funds that we have and with some stakeholders to potentially make some improvements so that it feels more walkable and more beautiful in downtown. I want to highlight the exterior improvement grant that is a part of our CCDC operation, but it is exactly the kind of beautification that's needed to make downtown walkable. It is about creating facades that are well lit, they have good signage and upgraded so that it is a special experience for walkers. There was a question about what DMC had done over the last few years from the pandemic. I just wanted to highlight some of the projects that were complete or some of the projects that were impacted by efforts of DMC, like 100 North Main and Steric. I think you guys know about that. $42 million spent on building the Mobility Center, which is going to really help and position us for growth over the next few years. The Cut Bank Bluff for Tom Lee Park, that was $2 million that was invested in that project, $10 million invested in Memphis Arts Museum. And I wanted to highlight on the left, bottom left, that's a development in the Snuff District, which is called Conwood. What's special about it is because it will book in the Pinch District. There's creating some density in the Snuff District connected to the south of downtown. I think creates opportunity for more development to happen in the Pinch District. And there were questions about visioning work and whether there was that kind of work done at DMC. So I'm just highlighting a little bit of the Build Downtown plan. It's a 10-year plan. It was developed in 2020, and it went alongside the Memphis 3.0 plan, but I'm just gonna do some highlights of it. Build up and not out. I know that's in 3.0, so we wanna focus on building up as well. We wanna enhance walkability, and there are lots of ways that we can do that. Again, funding challenges are associated with that, and we're working on ways that we can implement some things, but that is a major focus of the plan, and welcoming everyone, and that just speaks about how we invite people downtown, how we market downtown, and show that it is a place for visitors and tourists to come and experience. We had a question about who we partner with. So this is just a slide showing the different organizations that we work with regularly to ensure that downtown is welcoming and inviting, and that we are plugging in businesses where they're needed to be. So the CCDC organization is our nonprofit. This is where we spend the bulk of our incentive dollars. We have 6 programs that help to encourage development for downtown, help to fill vacant spaces, help to make downtown beautiful. And those are available currently, and they remain available. Here's a little video that shows some of the work done. I know we've got a lot to do, so I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on this, but I just wanted you to have a feel of why these incentive dollars are important in the work that we do downtown. All right, moving on. So a question that we received at the last meeting was about the return on investment for the incentives that we provide in our CCDC organization. And this chart, I think, is very telling. So this is from 2023. With $1.6 million of incentives, we were able to leverage $15 million of private investment. Chairman White, you were talking about public-private partnerships. This is one way that we're able to do that by encouraging and spurring development in downtown. For 2024, you can see the same kind of trend. The incentive dollars are way smaller than the amount of investment that occurred. So $500,000 in incentives for $5 million of project investment. $375,000 year to date in incentives for $2 million of investment. So moving on to our CCRFC organization, that is basically our bank, is where we issue pilots, and there's some bond issuing that we can do out of this organization. This slide just shows the comparison of how taxes always go up when a DMC pilot is in the mix. So this is very telling. The red bar shows how taxes have increased from the pilot and the development that happened as a result of the pilot being available to the developer. Here's an example of a specific project, the Madison Loft, where taxes increased over 200%. This project is Tennessee Brewery, where it increased over 500%. And moving to our design review board, where we administer the design guidelines for the incentives that we provide. Also, this board just recently updated their sign guidelines using a public process. So very active board. They are made up of professionals like architects and lawyers, and they help us to interpret the sign code. Our Downtown Mobility Authority organization is basically developed for us to help to make parking improvements and understand the parking needs for downtown. A 10-year parking plan was completed in December of 2020, and I'll talk a little bit about that in the next couple of slides, but we manage 6 garages. There are some other private and public partnership garages that are in downtown that we're a part of, but these are the ones that we specifically help to manage on a day-to-day basis. A part of the strategy for downtown parking was to create a core TMA, a Transportation Management Association. So we were able to do that over the last few years, and that is a very active association of individuals, including the state and local partners, and their goal is to expand access to commuting alternatives and create more connected, efficient transportation network for the community. Also, in our strategy, we wanted to have the garages updated where they have cameras, they have license plate readers, and things like that to new lighting, and other improvements to help ensure that the garages are safe and also welcoming. Another part of the plan was for us to do garage maintenance, and we're actively involved in that currently. We just had a loan of $4.2 million to deal with and address deferred maintenance at the garages. So back to the budget, which is basically the DMC budget, which is why we're here. This just highlights where we are in the total spend for the dollars that we receive. You can see it's virtually flat year over year with the percentage amount, but the dollar amounts have increased because we have received a grant that will help us to expand our clean, green, and safe initiatives. This is just a reminder of what we went over at the last meeting. Essentially, the CBID assessment, we believe will bring in about $4.7 million, and with some additional grants and other transfers in, we believe that our budget for FY26 will be $5.9 million to deliver the work that we do. So the request for today is to approve the budget that was presented at the last meeting, and I will open the floor for questions.
Councilwoman Dr. Michaeline Easter Thomas.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Question for going through the investment projects as far as the pilots. Can you explain, I forgot, I don't see which slide it's on, but can you explain the location determination of where pilots can go? So one of the projects was Overton Square, and so how does DMC get to Overton Square if Canton, North, and South Memphis?
Yes, ma'am. So I don't have our boundaries in the presentation. I apologize for that. But we have our CCRFC boundaries, which basically expands to the parkways.
Okay, that is beyond parkways. Okay. How are those boundaries determined by the board, or were they set by
It was the
council
term.
before?
I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, I was trying to see, was it the council before and before and before that did it, or is it by you all's board?
By our charter, our board charter, so it was established by ordinance.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilman Warren.
Thank you. Good afternoon. In this budget, where are your development of public toilets for downtown?
We don't have any budget for developing public toilets. However, this is a question that I would love to have more opportunity to explore it and to talk more to other CBIDs that have programs like this. We've heard feedback, and I would love to get more feedback on that and feedback from the community.
In addition to getting feedback, do you think we could get action? I think this is one of the things that probably has been floating around, people been talking about for years, but it's one of the things I think really needs to be moved on. If you just, we're in your budget, you've got stuff to sanitize and make the streets smell better. The reason you have to make them smell better is that you've got to clean this stuff up.
We got horses, yes, sir.
Okay, so if that's the case, instead of in that same budget for the device to clean it up, isn't that the place that we should have the budget for the public toilet too?
I just feel I believe that I don't know what a budget would be for an ever like that. I don't know what it would cost to man it, to have people to clean it, where we would locate it. I think it's important.
I think we're going to need more than one. Okay, it's like, where do you put them? And as you move forward and you're granting pilots, one of the stipulations in putting the pilots in is as you move in, we want you to provide something on your property that's going to let people walking down the street have the ability to relieve themselves if they need to. So I don't know. So let's explore it, but I don't want it to be one of these things, well, we're going to think about this and then I'm off the council in 2.5, 3 years and we haven't done anything.
I would love to sit down and have a conversation with you about it and explore it in more detail.
There's a great movie that I just saw about it's about a guy in Tokyo whose job is to clean the toilets there. It's called A Beautiful Day. And if you look at it, we need toilets that look like that in our town. They're amazing. They're all pieces of art. All right, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. So looking at your page 4 slide with the peer organization comparison and looking at the annual budget, and it's pretty low. But in this particular instance, you all's budget is comprised of your actual assessment, which is based on commercial property downtown, and not necessarily, it's not necessarily something that we give as a part of the city grant.
That's correct.
Based on where we are right now, looking at our CBID size, it's literally, I guess you would say 6 times, almost 6 times more in some instances, or 6 times more the size of other areas. We produce the least, and of course the purpose of the commission is development and creating new developments to be able to add those properties to increase the assessment. And also looking at it, we were established, one of the oldest ones, in 1977. Do you see issues with our CBID size? Do you see issues? What are the issues with actually this model working in the way in which that it would work, being that it's kind of a self-sustaining model in terms of the CBID assessment?
One of the issues is that the fee has not changed since 1977. That's number one. Another thing, for example, in Nashville, they have established a different funding source that is related to the sales tax in the area, where they have just a small percentage added onto the sales tax that helps to generate some additional funding for them. For Detroit, at $30 million, one of the unique things that they have is a philanthropic donation that comes into their budget to help to increase it. So I think all those areas are opportunities for us. Right now, we are working with stakeholders to look at some special programming. We did get a grant to help us with the Clean and Green program that we've established. So I'm hopeful that we'll have more partnerships in the future.
And the grants that you mentioned, looking at page 26, is that represented in the transfers in?
On page 26? Yes. Oh, yes.
Okay, so for FY 26, you're looking at about $1 million in grant funding?
It's a combination of grant funds or contributions from some of the affiliated organizations,
Okay.
DMC affiliated organizations. Thank you.
Okay. I'll just repeat one thing that I said before, which you mentioned it, is that I am a proponent of public-private partnerships, but also I know that the mayor just recently made an announcement about, I think it's John Zena Move, and I forgot the new name of it with development. But I really would like to see more coordination amongst EDGE, DMC, and other entities that are here to drive economic development and population growth, because you know, it's clear that we need some changes in our model, and just because we've been doing it for a long time doesn't necessarily mean that that's what we need to continue doing. So my hope to my council members, as well as my challenge to the DMC and the other organizations represented who are responsible for economic development, is that we collaborate more and really evaluate what it is that we're doing. What are we doing well, and what are we not doing so well? And what are other similarly situated cities doing, so that we may be able to figure out how to make those appropriate changes to be productive.
That's a great observation, Madam Chair. We do work closely with the other organizations, and I think there are definitely opportunities for us to do more, and I have lots of thoughts about that. So you should hear more about that coming up.
Thank you, because this is one of these things. It's like if we get the development and we create the money, it's there.
Yes.
So that's the good thing. So it's just an incentive for us to create and get the development.
Yes. Oh, and I do need to point out that I'm on the boards of some of these other organizations as well. So we are nested, but we do have still opportunities, and you highlight them perfectly.
Thank you. Councilman Warren?
You know, how much are you in charge of the parking rates and things that are in the various, like our new parking center that we built? Are we in charge of the rate that's there?
For the Mobility Center,
Mobility
yes.
Center.
So the 6 garages that we have management oversight, we do have oversight of those
I think
fees.
one of the things that may be keeping people from coming downtown is even parking in these things are so expensive. You know, you pay like, you know, $30 for an hour if there's an event or things like that. And I'm wondering if we could look at it and see if we're actually keeping people out, because we've made a nice place from the park, but we're charging so much that no one wants to park there. We may be pricing ourselves out. Has anybody mentioned that or thought about that?
Yes, so we are, right now we have a parking special for $5 parking on special days where we're trying to remove barriers for people to come downtown, and that will run through the summer. It started in the spring.
Can you describe that? What are the special days?
Sure, it is Sunday through Thursday between the hours of, for the spring event, it is between the hours of 6 to 9, I believe. It's 3-hour parking. And then later this summer, I think starting next month, starting this week, Sunday through Thursday, it will run for lunchtime during that same time. In our conversations with restaurant owners and retailers, those were some of the hours where they wanted to see some kind of program that could help. The challenge that we have is whatever we discount in parking, it still has to be paid. So the amount that we charge is just enough. We don't make money off parking. We only we put money in reserve. Yes, we have to repair garages. We just did a $4.2 million loan to repair, do deferred maintenance on a number of our garages for some really important work that has to happen. So it's a delicate balance.
I think we're balanced maybe a little bit too high. And I'm wondering if what we're doing is like 3-hour windows of, I mean, this is the first I've heard of it, so I don't know how other people are going to know about it. It's not something that's...
It's being advertised. It's on social.
Weird.
I'm sorry, we've been on the news. We've talked about it in a lot of places, and we spent advertising dollars on it. We've got a commercial. We've got a radio spot to talk about it as well. Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Thank you for doing that. I'm thinking that perhaps your median on the other hours still may be up. I know we've got to pay, but if we've got completely empty garages because no one's coming down there or they're parking anywhere else but there, you know, one, it's not as safe as our garage as far as, you know, car theft and things like that people are worried about because people aren't coming down because of break-ins and car thefts. So they have a secure garage that we've got that they can come to. It would be better if we could get them in there, and there may be a price point we're missing. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilwoman Cooper Sutton, you recognize.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Thank you for your presentation. It's always good to see you. And I'm kind of catching up to speed. But there's a question when you talk about downtown Memphis development loans. And when I'm in the community and I'm talking to our young people and our young adults, and they're very interested in moving downtown or opening small businesses downtown, and they are not sure exactly where to start or where to begin. And is there a program? I know I see your budget. Is there a program and that can encourage them, help them, incentivize them, and not put that burden on them because they're young? We once were young. I mean, we're still young, but I'm just saying. However, they are our future. And they are so interested in moving downtown and opening businesses and having businesses, but they don't know where to start and where is the opportunity, because it's always a dollar amount that's attached to anything. And we know that. We understand that as adults. But investing in them and getting them prepared and having them excited, because it's going to be them that's going to be the foundation that's going to hold this city together. And so we need programs, and I'm just asking, maybe I missed, programs that would encourage them, that will build their self-esteem and give them an opportunity not just to look in the Fraser or the Raleigh or the Westwood or the Oak Haven or the Parkway Village or the Hyatt Park. It's so much, these kids are business-minded. Anytime that you can sell dope and bring in pounds like that and sell it, they're business-minded. But where is the opportunity for our children? And that's the key thing that I think that we're missing. And I heard you say that you're on several boards. And when I look around this whole audience, I've been out for a while, been not feeling 100%, but I'm so glad that I'm back. And when it's this, you know, and I'm not, the growth is not here. I see other cities. We compare ourselves to other cities. But there's going to have to be something totally different that we do. And we're going to have to include our youth and our young adults that are out there. We're going to have to bring them in. Because if we don't, the growth, they're gonna leave. They're leaving. They are leaving. So is there something for downtown to encourage our youth to come downtown, come to the DMC, come. We have programs, we have initiatives, we have things that may not just get you where you want, but guess what? We can get you a start and help back them with finances.
I don't know how my mic went out, but yes, ma'am. Your passion about this is so important. We want all of them to be downtown, and we do have programming for them. Our Emerging Developers program is one great program to introduce them to the lifestyle of development. They have opportunities. It's free. It's open. All you have to do is sign up. All you have to do is show up. But they will learn from seasoned developers. We'll help them to build a performa. They have education that's geared to teach them about this space of development. And I've got countless stories, but there's one story in particular where I invited a gentleman. He's a power washer, and he wanted to get connected to downtown, and he did. And he came to an MDev event. He met one of the developers there, and now he's a project manager working at St. Jude on the construction project that's happening now. Young male, went just under 30. He's doing extremely well. So we have stories like that all the time of people connecting with our Emerging Developers Program. We're really proud of it. It's received awards from the International Downtown Association. So it's just really a great program.
How do we get that out there to our youth? And are you engaged with schools? Are you partnering, with different schools and, so they can know that there's a project, there's a program out there that can help them be developers. I got 2 young ladies right now that's trying to be developers. They are extremely brilliant young ladies. But everywhere they go, the door is always shut. And so when I'm listening to you and I'm hearing this and to know that there's an opportunity there, they need the encouragement. They need our help. They need what we have so we can continue to build Memphis and see it grow with what we already have here. And they're here.
Yes.
So I would love, offline, we can just talk about it a little bit more and introduce you to those 2 young ladies.
That sounds amazing. I would love to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman Cooper-Sutton, for your comments. Seeing that there are no other members in the queue, thank you all so much for your presentation, and it's always wonderful to see you all. Next, we're going to move on. Mayor Young, if you would come back up, we're going to move on to the presentations from the 4 grantees.
All right. Thank you. I know at the last meeting we had conversation around the grantees that were in the mayor's office budget. We have all 4 of them that are here today to give presentations on what their proposals include. So do you have a specific order you want, or you want me to just start calling them out?
You can start calling them out.
All right. Well, I would like to ask the Civil Rights Museum to come forth with Dr. Wigginton and his team to talk about their efforts and what was included, which was a $250,000 grant towards the renovations that are being made. That one right there.
And for any council members, I just wanted you all to know that these are the presentations for the $650,000 that's listed as grants and subsidies that we had questions about at the last wrap-up.
That's correct.
Page 48 of the budget book. Thank you so much, Chief Hyman. Good afternoon. So good to see you. Please introduce yourself for the record, and we're ready for your presentation.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. My name is Russ Wigginton. I am president at the National Civil Rights Museum. I am joined by my colleague, Ozak Ahmed, who is the Corporation and Foundation Relations Officer at the National Civil Rights Museum. In the audience is Andrew Matthews, who serves as Senior Director of Development for the museum. The opportunity to be before you today is a special one for us because we have had been honored to be in a position where we feel like we're able to serve as a national museum that represents certainly the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King, but represents Memphis, and represents Memphis as what we like to call a town square for the city to help us in so many other things that have already been mentioned related to economic development, related to education, related to how we take advantage of the assets and the distinctions of this city. And we do that throughout any given year with numerous programs that are community focused. We have what we call tentpole events that are community days for the city. King Day, April 4 commemoration, Juneteenth, the Ruby Bridges Reading Festival, and certainly, albeit not a free community day, but an important day in Memphis of celebrating so much of this community, which is our annual Freedom Award. Those are events that are sort of the structural foundation for the National Civil Rights Museum. And they allow us to attract approximately 250,000 visitors a year. What I think is important about that number is over 75% of our visitors come from more than 120 miles outside of Memphis. What that means is there are many people who come, share their resources in our community, and have extended stays. So there's a significant percentage of our visitors who come to Memphis and stay in hotel rooms, spend money in restaurants, spend money in shops. And we feel like that's a responsibility that we have to contribute to the economic viability of our city. As part of that, we had the good fortune a couple years ago of being able to embark on a $38 million renovation of the boarding house. For those who may not be aware, certainly the Lorraine Motel, the renovation that was completed about a decade ago, the generous support from the city helped generate and stimulate a kind of energy that really put us on a national map from a respect, visibility, Smithsonian affiliate, reputation upgrade from about 10 years ago. This particular project, the boarding house, which is a building we've owned for about 25 years, traditionally has not been at play beyond those who were interested in seeing potential artifacts or things associated with the assassination. And we decided that now is the time to utilize that building in a much more comprehensive way. So we borrowed from Dr. King's, the title of his last book, Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community? And we said, we choose community, and we're going to pick up from 1968 and talk about the civil and human rights trials and tribulations over the last 50 plus years in that building. And we are going to allow the foundation of the civil rights movement and its impact and how it has influenced so many other dimensions of civil rights progress from various spaces. So we're going to we're going to highlight how so many other dimensions of our society have been inspired by the traditional movement. And in doing so, we are focusing on, particularly on young people. We know that each year that goes by, we get further and further away from the traditional civil rights movement. And fewer people can connect with that era from experience. And so we have to make explicit connections of things that are ongoing now, or things that have happened over the last 50 plus years, so that those connections of yesteryear, those things back on the Lorraine side, if you will, are never forgotten and continue to serve as the foundation for dignity, respect, and justice. This $38 million renovation has enjoyed tremendous success from funders all throughout the country. We've benefited from significant support from the state of Tennessee, from individuals, from foundations, literally from California to New York. So this has been a national opportunity to garner support for the museum. As a result, we are at approximately 37.2 between $37.2, $37.3 million towards a $38 million goal. What we know is the completion of this renovation will allow us to attract and increase our visitorship. We're currently at approximately 200,000. I will say, over the last couple years, our visitation has dropped. It has dropped in conjunction with some of the things that have already been talked about as it relates to people visiting Memphis and people spending the kind of time on their visits in downtown Memphis. But we are using that, and we think of that as an opportunity for us, again, with the responsibility of serving as one of the catalysts for positivity and rejuvenation and continued energy for downtown. And we have, with this renovation, we are confident that we will experience significant revenue growth. The last renovation we did approximately 10 years ago helped us know that with new, fresh, and powerful exhibits and storytelling, people in Memphis, people in Tennessee, people across this country, and people across this world will come to Memphis and come to the museum and spend significant time here. Just under 15% of our visitors are international, and so when they come to Memphis, they come and they spend several days. Those are dollars in the coffers for our city. I'll stop there. And from that context, but wanted to just share a few photos for you all to see the scale and scope of this renovation. In addition to the boarding house, Founders Park and Legacy Terrace is being reimagined. We are fortunate that we have received full funding from Blue Cross Blue Shield to redo Founders Park and create as you can see, a sense of community, a place for festivals, a place for gathering, a place for people to be in conversation. And what was previously called a grassy knoll when you would walk out of the boarding house, I think you can tell that we are in the midst of creating a place of inspiration where people can gather, be in community, and be in reflection upon what they will have experienced after visiting the National Civil Rights Museum. Couple quick photos of what's happening in the building. I get a lot of questions about that because people haven't been able to go in lately, but this is the Poor People's Campaign. We pick up in that very powerful moment right after Dr. King died, and so many, led by Coretta Scott King and so many people in our country, continued on with that Poor People's Campaign. And we tell that full story in a way that it hasn't been told before, beginning with a wagon, because there was a mule-drawn wagon in 1968. We want people to understand the power of what the Poor People's Campaign, what it meant when it happened, and what it still means today when we think about all labor having dignity and we think about the kind of sacrifice that our sanitation workers made for this city. There's a couple other spots I just want you to see. We are lifting up pillars. These pillars were in Dr. King's last book that are still relevant today. Areas like housing, areas like jobs, areas like gender equity. These are things that, again, from more than 50 years ago are still centered in our society today that need to be talked about and addressed. What we're really excited about is that because we're doing it from 1968 to the present, we have spaces allocated for each decade where we lift up stories for people to recall and remember, and in some cases see for the very first time of what was happening in the 90s. Most of us in this room can have some recollection, but there's a significant percentage of people in our society who don't have any connection to the 1990s. And so we have a responsibility, we think, of talking about things that happened in the 1990s and connecting them back to the 1960s. I'll stop there.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wigginson. Do we have any members in the queue? Oh, okay. I did have one quick question. The ask from the museum is $250,000. Is that correct? Is that to go towards the $38 million goal, or was it something else?
No, that would be towards the 38 million and would provide certainly significant acknowledgement and recognition for the city as contributing and naming opportunity in the building for something that the city that the support would decide what makes sense. Things like the Poor People's Campaign, for example.
Okay. And Councilwoman Green, you said you had a question. Well, I'm thinking let's go ahead and do it now so that we won't have to call them back up and then they can leave if they need to. Oh, all of them. Okay. I'm sorry, Councilwoman Swearengin-Washington.
I want to ask Director Person, is that how much we gave last time? $250,000 last year?
Good afternoon, Walter Person, CFO, 125 North Main. Yes, ma'am.
$250,000. Thank you.
Councilwoman Walker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you all for coming today. I appreciate your presentation. With respect to this renovation, what are you doing to incorporate clean, green energy, sustainability in this renovation?
Thank you for that question. Couple things that we're particularly excited about. One of the pillars, for example, is on environmental rights, specifically on environmental rights. And that's something we haven't had at the museum. What that means is there is of the 6 significant exhibits on the 2nd floor in the boarding house, one of them is dedicated to environmental rights. That means we have an artifact from across the country. We have interviewed several people and telling personal stories about environmental justice locally and beyond. And it allows for continued knowledge to be attained. It's an ongoing story. We will have QR codes, for example, that are on the exhibits so that as stories continue to emerge, they get included. So we are lifting up environmental justice as an important dimension. We also, in thinking about the park, working with Blue Cross and Blue Shield, have factored in best practices from an environmental standpoint on the type of plants and the type of care that should be provided most environmentally efficient for the park and the terrace.
Thank you. That sounds great. I'll be looking forward. And Madam Chair, I yield the floor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Cooper Sutton.
Thank you. Thank you both for your presentation. And thank you for all the work that you do to keep Dr. King's and the civil rights alive, educating our young people and the people across the world that's coming from all over to visit. But you said something that your visitation has dropped. And I know that we're doing all this renovation, and this is amazing. What are you doing to enhance that and to impact that, to increase the drop of visitation? And I know you are here to talk about the grants and subsidies, and I understand that because that was a question. And glad to hear that I'm a fan of Ruby Bridges, and every time she tries to come, I try to make sure that the kids in my community gets an opportunity to come so they can understand the history and what significance it has here in Memphis. But what are you doing to increase that, impacting your visitation and your tourism?
Sure. One of the areas of emphasis for the last year and a half or so has been a focus, a much more explicit focus for Memphis and the surrounding area. what we don't want to do is ever take for granted. We know we have this wonderful, longstanding relationship with Memphis, but we want to make sure that Memphians are visiting the museum. And so we have deepened our relationship, for example, with Memphis Shelby County Schools. In this last academic year was the first year in which, for example, all 5th and 11th graders, as part of being in the 5th and 11th grade, had built-in field trips to the museum. Now, there are students all the time who visit the museum, but we have an arrangement now where all 5th and 11th graders come to the museum, and we have seen that be a catalyst for them engaging and creating opportunities for them to engage further. We have also added to our collections and are creating spaces. One of the things this building would do is it creates more spaces for us to have more temporary exhibits. Having space for more temporary exhibits is a big deal because one of the things that allows us to do is work with folks in the community to contribute and establish exhibits at the museum with us. One of the challenges that we've had in the past is our space has been so tight. We have one major rotating exhibit gallery, and it's usually spoken for with a national Smithsonian affiliated exhibit. Now with the boarding house, we have multiple other spaces so that we can always have the possibility of, in rotation, a more local and Memphis-specific story, if you will, to help draw and make sure people in our community feel an explicit connection from Memphis.
So thank you. But the Ruby Bridges and all those, you are here because of the grants and the subset. That's why you're here, explaining how you use these funds. Am I correct?
So it's for this particular ask is for this renovation.
The 250?
Yes.
Okay, the 250.
Yes.
Okay.
The other Ruby Bridges and others. We raise funds elsewhere for that.
Okay, but you are actually here. They're actually here for the ask of the 250.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
That's a part of the mayor's proposed budget on page 48 of grants and subsidies.
Yeah, all right.
Yes, a total of $650,000. They're requesting $250,000.
But you're just asking for 250.
Yes, ma'am.
From the city. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Chairwoman.
Yes, ma'am. It's fine. We're here. Dr. Warren?
I just had a question. What is a family membership at the museum now?
So what we don't have the family membership. That price has just recently changed, hasn't it?
Yeah, I can speak to that. So we are sort of doing our own renovation of sorts on our membership program, and so historically, family memberships have been between $100 and $150 per year.
And when you say between, is there a sliding scale?
Yeah.
How do you determine that?
Depending on size of the family.
The size of the family. And with that family membership, how often can people come to the museum?
Unlimited.
Unlimited. So I think this is one of the things in our community that people don't realize, that we've got this national museum that, if you got a big family, you're wondering what you need to do, you want to go downtown for something that's education for your kids. It's a great way to do that, and it's not that expensive. If you figure you're going to be going 4 or 5 times and you got 5 kids, all of a sudden you've got a great deal and you're right next to Central Barbecue.
It's also Monday afternoons between 3 and 5 is free every week. So if people target that. In addition to that, when I mention community days, those are days that are also free admission. So the combination of Mondays and community days give people access
And
if they're
that
unable
family
to
membership
afford.
is really a deal that I think people in the city should know about. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilwoman Green?
Thank you, Chair. I do have, I want to piggyback on what both Councilman Warren and Councilwoman Cooper Sutton just mentioned, and then I have one specific question. So I'm gonna ask that first, which is, in total, in your presentation, it notes that the city gave $1 million at the start of this museum. In total, how much has the city given? Because I know you said last year we got $250,000.
So the $1 million was for the renovation that was done for the Lorraine in 2014. The 250 was the programming connected for ARPA funding. There was funds given to the museum when the museum was founded in 1991. I can't remember that figure. But over the lifetime of the museum, $11 million.
And so I asked that because I want to build on what my council members have sort of pointed out. It is very clear that we as a city council, as a government, are invested in making this museum a success. $11 million is not an insubstantial grant. In fact, there's very few projects that we do around here. There are some divisions that run on less than $11 million. And so for us to invest that much, it means it's important. It's important to people who've lived the experience, people who are bringing their children to those experiences. And I do think we need to increase membership, and I do think we need to make sure that it is open and free more than just Mondays. I appreciate that for some of us, $100 for a family membership may not be a lot. For many in this city, that is a barrier to entering your doors. I appreciate that you have community days, and I appreciate that you have your Mondays. But for an $11 million investment, I would like to see this museum open to any child in the city of Memphis that wants to come in and see it. And so I turned that to the mayor as part of your contract for this 250. This is part of why I wanted to have this sort of open discussion about what these grants are, is so that we can have some input on if our dollars are going to be going to worthy organizations like this one. I don't think there's anyone up here who would say that this is not an important part of our history. But I want to see what we're getting for the dollars. And frankly, I don't care if the city of Memphis's name is on some new pavilion. I care if the children are walking through those doors and learning the lessons that are being taught there. There are other models out there, of course. You know, we have free zoo days. I know that on the county side, we're working on making museums free during the summers. And so the Brooks Museum is going to be open to any Shelby County resident year-round once it's built. So it's not a lot for us to do. And I would encourage you to think through whether it's just the children or if it's a children plus one parent, you know, because if you're going to come down, then you're going to have a parent that's going to need to come in those doors too. But if we really want to talk about affordability, if we really want to talk about access, if we really want to talk about getting this message out to Memphians, then when you're asking for, I realize this ask is just $250,000, but over the course of the lifetime, $11 million, I want to see our children in those doors. So I'm laying that out there for y'all to work out in your contract, but I don't think that's an unreasonable ask.
Yeah, I thank you for those comments. There are other opportunities where children are able to go to the museum for free, so I apologize if I did not note all of those. We do participate in the Shelby County program for the pass, the culture pass and summer pass. All of those students have the ability to go for free. We also receive funding that allows students to go free throughout the year, the academic year in particular. And so the county pass gives them opportunity to go for free in the summer.
Is, you know, sounds like you're already doing this program. And so I would love for you to say, City of Memphis, if you will give us $250,000 towards our new build, we will make museum access open to the children who are residents of the city of Memphis. I mean, it's really that simple. So I understand that there are conversations that have to be had after and post this, but this is why we wanted to have public hearings on these grants, is to be able to bring forward these kinds of ideas. because $100 is a barrier to way too many families in our city. You and I both know that. Regardless of the other programming, you know, you may have great connections with the Memphis Shelby County schools. What about private schools? What about home schools? You know, there are people that fall through the gap. The way to make it access for all is to make it access for all. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we're going to take one more question from Councilwoman Walker, and then we're going to move on to our next presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can y'all hear me? Okay, thank you. So with the renovation, with these new exhibits, will there be anything recognizing city employees, more specifically solid waste?
I'm not following. I'm sorry.
So let's connect this to the sanitation workers.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, the sanitation worker, one of the things that, again, back to the utilization of the boarding house and having more spaces, one of the things that it allows for is for us to have more special exhibits that are rotating, for example. When you look at the archives, we have more than 10,000 items in our archives. Some of those archives are connected to the sanitation worker strike that we aren't able now to have on display on the Lorraine side. This gives us the opportunity to build specific exhibits. And we get tremendous demand from people with ideas and say, what kind of exhibit, and we ask the question, we'll be able to ask the question, what kind of exhibits would we like to see in this community that are Memphis specific? And we have archives that can accommodate many of those exhibits. So to answer your question, based on what's in our archives, we can create exhibits specific for Memphis workers connected to this city in some of those spaces, in some of those renovated spaces.
Okay, thank you. I yield the floor.
Thank you, Councilman Walker. Councilman Ford. Okay.
Civil Rights Museum. Y'all, little history. I know who started. Okay? It changed a lot of hands. Okay? That kind of hurt things, okay? These hands that it changed to, if you want to know the facts. Okay? Because who started, they took it away. They put people that only cared about self at first. I'm glad to see you. I'm glad you're really concerned about the Civil Rights Museum. A lot of people may not even know about what happened in '68. I was here in '68. I remember when King got killed, the timing and everything else. I know about all of it. Sanitation workers. I love our sanitation workers. You got some that's 80 years old, okay? They should have been at home a long time ago. During that time, they had the wrong lawyer. Sold them out. I'm just being honest now. Some of y'all may go back in some of that history. That's what happened with them, okay? You know, benefits that a lot of folks get, they didn't get. That's why if you go, some of them say, I just got to die here. Keep on working. It's not a good thing, okay? I'm going back into some history. She was sitting there in Memphis. Free. I ain't got nothing against giving the children something free. Memphis can't do it by itself. Because if you go once, are you going to come back twice? You got to let others that's coming in the city to make sure that they're coming down there. When you go to all these other cities, everybody go to all these different things. Okay? We got Brooks coming. Best thing probably ever going to be happening. Because you know what? We got the best riverfront. That's going to start bringing people here. This city is not a convention town. We run everybody away. I'm just being honest. And it's not the city that runs them away. It's these hotels, places, all these other people that runs them away. They can't get anything. You want to charge me twice. I don't know if that's because they're black or what. And I'm not prejudiced now, but just look, be for real, okay? I'm talking about Church of God in Christ. You know, they're getting ready to leave again. Why? Like I said, we can't do it by ourselves. We got to make sure all these other cities, people come in from New York, New Orleans, everywhere else. This is the place where you need to come. See some of the history. This is King's history, okay? Yes. So whatever I can do, and I need to talk to you afterwards on some other things that will probably help the museum. But like I said, I go back into history. I know y'all are new, but the person that started had it doing good, but it was taken out of hand and it moved to people that only care about self and not about the museum, okay? I remember the Lorraine Hotel. I'm gonna bring a picture before we wrap up. Film directors, Black Film Directors Convention. That's where we had our convention, at the Lorraine Motel. They had the best food because the owners of the hotel cooked the food, okay? Had the best. But I need y'all to probably, if you want to look at some history, hey, all the Black film directors from all over the country was there. And I got pictures back in the 40s, 30s, all the way up. History about the Lorraine Motel. But that was the right motel to go to during that time. Why do you think King was there during that time? If you're going to go back into some history and what it is, and we must preserve it, okay? $250,000 ain't no money to preserve that type history, okay? And like I said, anything else that we can do, and then, hey, some of these private people, hey, that used to help, that's why I need to talk to you. I need to see if they're still helping, because when they start changing hands, these people bagged up, okay? And I know them well, maybe we can get them back on board again, okay? I'm through.
Thank you, Councilman Ford. It's always great to hear your take and get a little history behind some of the things going on. We appreciate your perspective. We're going to move forward. Thank you all so much for this presentation. One thing I will just say quickly before we close, and I always reiterate this when we start talking about these things, I agree $250,000 is not a big ask when you start talking about the National Civil Rights Museum. When we talk about growth, development, increase in population, economic development, we just heard that the DMC goes off of the CBID, which is based on commercial development. You cannot rewash the same money. The whole thing of a growing city is bringing in people. And in order to bring in people, you need places like the National Civil Rights Museum. Thank God for the National Civil Rights Museum. It is one of our top places to visit when you come to this city. We need to make sure that we invest in it, that we protect it, and that we make sure that it thrives and does well, because it is one of the reasons that we're able to do DMC and all the other things that we're able to do in the city. So thank you. We appreciate you. And I am absolutely supportive of the grant allocation of $250,000.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Councilman Ford, we're going to have you in the museum archives if you keep talking. We need a collection manager, and I think I just found one.
Take us to name the street after him. Come on. Everybody else name the street. All over, but how long did it take us? I just want y'all to understand. That's where I'm coming from, y'all. But it's a shame. It took us that long, and all these things happened here. But you had all these other cities, man.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we have let's get a little housekeeping going here. So we have 3 other presentations of these grant funds. I'm going to ask these presenters, and I know that we gave Dr. Wigginton and his team a whole lot of time, but I'm going to request that you all keep your presentations to about 5 to 7 minutes, and council members will have an opportunity to answer, and then we're going to move on to our 3 proposed resolutions. So next we have, and I'll let the mayor proceed on who he wants to bring up next.
Child Advocacy Center.
All right, we have the Memphis Child Advocacy Center. Come on down.
And this is a proposed $130,000 investment.
Here we go. Madam Chair, you ready? Or you want to wait a minute?
Oh, no. Please
Okay.
proceed. Thank you. Introduce yourselves, and you can get right into the presentation. Thank you.
My name is Craig Weiss, and I am a longtime supporter of the Child Advocacy Center. I'm a past chair of the board of the Child Advocacy Center. And Child Advocacy Center, I think everyone here knows what the Memphis Child Advocacy Center does. I hope you've all been to the center, and if you have not, I encourage you to please come down and take a tour with Virginia Starworth, our executive director, that will handle the presentation shortly. But public-private partnerships have been mentioned a number of times today, and the Child Advocacy Center is a true public-private partnership. Virginia, I'm sure in her presentation, will explain all of the agencies that are housed at the CAC that are part of our CIPIT team, our Child Protective Investigation team. So it is a true public-private partnership. And as I got involved in the CAC, I was frankly shocked that it wasn't government funded. And so thank you for the foresight to consider funding from the city of Memphis, and I appreciate it. Unfortunately, Memphis and our area has twice the incidence of child sexual abuse than the national average. And so the CAC is critically important to our city. It has become more important, some of the skills at the CAC, the forensic interviewers that do the age-appropriate interviews that are utilized in court as evidence. MPD is relying on them, unfortunately, more and more for children that witness crimes and murders and things like that. And so if we can't get those children down to the CAC and get them into counseling and therapy, you can imagine having experienced those experiences, the issues that go on. So I'm going to turn it over now to Virginia Starworth, who is our executive director, for the presentation, but thank you.
Thank you, Craig. I'm Virginia Stallworth. I am the executive director of the Memphis Child Advocacy Center. I want to thank you, Mayor Young, and council members for your consideration today of this grant to support the work of the Memphis Child Advocacy Center and our facilitation and housing of the Shelby County Child Protective Investigation Team. This is the team that works together in a public-private partnership in response to all reports of child abuse in our city and our county. You know, I have to comment on Craig's opening presentation. He's a board member, a supporter, a donor, and you just heard this man talk in very great detail with great knowledge about the work that we do at the Memphis CAC. And I just want you to know that he's a great representative of our highly engaged board of directors, volunteers who support this work, without whom we couldn't be here doing this work. So just want to acknowledge you and thank you, Craig. The Child Protective Investigation Team that's housed at the Memphis CAC includes all law enforcement in Shelby County. Now, it's the Memphis Police Department Child Abuse, I'm going to say Child Abuse Squad, because that's what Chief Davis said to me in our recent conversation, that we should call it a squad. It's technically the Juvenile Abuse Unit, but I like Child Abuse Squad better, so we'll go with that today. But that 12-member team, headed up by a lieutenant, is actually housed at the Memphis CAC on the second floor. This is where they come to work each and every day. And they are working alongside our staff, our forensic interviewers, our family advocates, our therapists, and our partners from the Department of Children's Services. We have 7 units of the Department of Children's Services also housed on site. So this really facilitates a coordination and a working relationship that allows kids to come to one place, a child-friendly place, and this group of professionals who must be involved are all there working together. So kids can tell their story one time to a forensic interviewer, while a law enforcement officer, that could be MPD, that could be Bartlett, that could be Millington, Shelby County, is observing that through a remote process and are able to then use that recorded interview as a part of the investigation and then also in the prosecution of these cases. The majority of the kids who come through our doors are there because of a report of child sexual abuse. And as Craig noted, we also are doing interviews at the request of MPD Homicide Unit for children who have witnessed homicide and also children who have been physically abused. Our 15-member CIPIT, Child Protective Investigation Team, includes all of our law enforcement, child protective services, medical providers from our friends at LeBoner, also in the room today, medical providers from Rape Crisis Center, and the District Attorney General's Office. Last year, this team reviewed over 3,600 reports of child abuse in our city. And as Craig noted, this is based on the 2014 ACEs survey, Shelby County Adverse Childhood Experiences survey, that found 2 out of 10 or 1 out of 5 adults who responded to that survey said they had been sexually abused as children. So that is a real number and based on that survey, and that is twice the national rate of child sexual abuse in this country. So I will pause here. I don't know how long I've been talking, and I'm trying to be mindful of your time.
Look, that is already wonderful. I think most of us here probably already know what the Child Advocacy Center does. We understand what an asset it is. We appreciate you all for the great work, for the dedication. We need more of it, and we hope that we can start having discussions once we have a little bit more money in the coffers, Mayor. We can start discussing how we can build capacity because, like you said, we have doubled the number, which means we have a lot more people to service, which means we need more money in these types of spaces. Do I have any council members in the queue? We have Councilwoman Green.
Thank you. Thank you for your work. I was curious, last year, did you receive funding from the city?
We did.
And what was the amount?
We had 2 separate grants. There was a grant of $225,000, and then through the individual sponsorship of council members through the traditional grants program, we got an additional $26,000. So we got $251,000 total.
Okay. Thank you. This is not a question to you. I have this question for this organization and for the prior organization. And, you know, Chief Pearson, maybe you can come up and tell us, but the reason that we're here and the reason this was put in the big, beautiful budget amendment, as it were, is because the grant items in the mayoral grants were 650,000, and it looked like an increase. But we're now hearing from the Civil Rights Museum they got 250,000 last year. From Child Advocacy, they got 225 last year. I assume that LeBoner and Jiff also received grants last year. I'm curious as to where they were in our budget book last year.
I can explain. So last year we had a line for $2 million for public safety. We reduced that line down to $1 million, and that is where we're going to do the public safety grants like we did this past year, where you can apply, and all of the smaller nonprofit entities that have programs in public safety realm, they'll apply for those. And then we had, in previous budget years, there were line items for specific agency grants, and they were spelled out. And we just mistakenly put it in as grants in one line. And so this is the breakout of what that line was, which was 650,000. So we went from 2 million to 1.65 under that public safety line. Does that make sense?
And where did the other 450 go?
Just reduced out of the budget.
Okay, and so in our budget books now, are you saying they're incorrect? Like, should it be
It's
housed
not
under
incorrect.
public safety?
No, it's not incorrect. The mayor's office had a line last year for $2 million for public safety grants.
Okay.
This year, we reduced that line to $1 million, and we took $650,000 and applied them towards these specific agencies.
Okay. And were all of these agencies given grants last year?
Child Advocacy was out of the public safety when JIF was not. LeBoner was funded previously through ARPA funds, and I'm not sure where the civil rights was funded from last year. It wasn't in the mayor's office, though.
And you said JIF was not either?
JIF was not.
So out of the 4 that you're presenting here today, the 650, only the Child Advocacy Center actually received money out of that public safety line last year.
Correct.
And these others, at least one of them, maybe more, was ARPA funding?
Correct. LeBoner. And they didn't get anything from us last year. That was the previous year.
Yeah, again, this is not about the work of these agencies at all. I think we're all supportive of, the Civil Rights Museum, Child Advocacy Center, LeBoner, JIF. I think they all do great work. This is about budgeting. And so for us to understand where things are moving in the budget and if there is going to be continued funding and expectations in the future, especially around ARPA funding, because ARPA funding is ending, what we're taking from, what we're giving to, et cetera. And so I just think more transparency all around, whether it's in the budget book or in hearings like this, is really appreciated, because it's hard for us to discern when something has simply just been mistakenly put in a different line. I don't have anything further, Chair.
Thank you. Let me see. We gotta. Okay, so quick question for the mayor. Will this reduce the neighborhood safety grants?
Reduce? No.
Okay.
No. So part of the reason we were able to reduce from that $2 million that we had last year is because we have VSIF, which is through the MPD, and they are funding some of the things that we were doing around public safety, like some of the work with street outreach, with some of the funding from last year's budget.
Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you all wanted to share with us before you all departed?
Just thank you for your support.
Thank you. Thank you all for all that you do. So you all tell me this, and I think part of this request was from Councilwoman Green in terms of that. Do we need to continue with the other presentations, or do we all agree that these are organizations that we support, or did you all want to continue hearing from those? And I also wanted to give the organizations an opportunity. I know you all came down here and you all have sat down here with us this afternoon, but I think now that we kind of cleared some things up, we all agree that these are very worthy organizations that we support, and also hope to find more support for in the future.
Chair.
Yes.
I agree in principle to that, but every single one of our grantees, part of the reason why I asked for this to be a public hearing is every single one of the grantees that we give $5,000 to, $2,000 to, has to give us a presentation, has to give us an accounting of their 501(c) status, their budget from the previous year, the percentage and where this would go to. And so I think we should hear from the other two strictly to be equitable across the board. And I don't want to set a precedence of, we just all think these are good places, And again, like something we would have all agreed that the National Civil Rights Museum is a good place, but there might be good ideas that come from the presentation. So I would ask that we continue with the presentations, if nothing else for transparency.
We absolutely can, Councilwoman Green. Mayor, would you call up your next presenter?
All right, I'd like to ask Jeff to come forth. This is one where we are looking to fund $130,000.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, how are you this afternoon?
Doing well, doing well.
Thank you. Please present yourself, and we're ready for your presentation.
Yes, my name is Chris Yancey. I am the newly minted Executive Director at JIF, Juvenile Intervention and Faith-Based Follow-Up. So I am here to present what I have for you all. It sounds like you all are very familiar with what JIF does, so I'll be very mindful of your time and not spend a lot of time on that. I do want to make myself available for any questions that you might have. But JIF's mission is to break the destructive cycle of juvenile intervention, juvenile crime through faith-based or Christ-based intervention. So we're very intentional with what we're doing at JIF. During my tenure, I've been the interim executive director since February. Prior to that, I was aboard JIF last year as director of operations. But one of the very first things that I wanted to pay attention to, because I come from an education background, my teacher brain never turns off, apparently, because I wanted to know what we were doing with the kids while we had them. We had some great numbers, we had some great statistics, but I'm all about what are we doing while we've got these babies in our hands. And so what I saw was a lot of character development, which is great. Character development has its place. But I was born and raised in this city. I have a huge tie to this city, and so I know that the kids have more than just character development issues out there in the streets. So they're dealing with trauma, they're dealing with grief, they're dealing with poverty, they're dealing with a lot of things that our police chief sees on a daily basis, I'm sure. So we wanted to make sure that we were addressing those things while we had the kids at JIF. So I made it my mission starting in February to kind of overhaul our curriculum. You'll find that curriculum in the folders that I just gave you. I wanted to be intentional about creating social and emotional learning curriculum, dealing with those issues like trauma, like triggers, cycle of risk, all those things that you'll find in the curriculum now, but also pairing that with Christ-based intervention or Christ-based lessons. So it took us some work. We did that as a team. I take no credit in that. We did that as a whole at JIF. We managed to get that done, and so I'm excited about that. I invite any of you at all, anybody in this building, actually, in this room, to come to JIF, spend some time with these kids. We serve a hot meal to these kids every single day when we get them. So come eat dinner with the kids, sit down with them, and spend some time. But anyway, I won't spend a lot of time on the history of JIF. I'm sure you know that. I do want to talk about funding, since that's something you have been dealing with. So we have been receiving funding historically in the mayor's budget, usually about $250,000. Like the mayor said, we were not in the budget last year. Prior to that, we did receive ARPA funding. So even though we weren't in the mayor's budget last year, we did apply for the Safer Communities grant. We were awarded $50,000 out of that. However, we are asking for, let me get to that. We are asking for $130,000, and that would cover about 12% of our budget. I will open the floor up to any questions that you all have. I won't spend a lot of time. You've got the information in front of you.
Councilwoman Green.
What percentage of our budget is the cutoff for our council grants? Isn't it 10%? That may be a question for us internally. We do, so again, we do our own grants, and we try not to be a large percentage of anybody's budget, because then they become too reliant on us, and we can't continue to do everything for everybody every year. So that was just my question. Is it 30? 30, okay, thank you.
How many young people do you serve?
Last year we served, let me take that back. The year before last, we served 464 youth. Last year, it was cut down to about 290 youth, but that was what I was told was because of juvenile courts issues that they had in their building. They had some slowdown with referrals, and so our referrals went down last year. But as of January of this year, we've serviced 93 young males and females.
Thank you.
Yes.
Did you have a question, Councilwoman Cooper? Okay.
Did. I think you answered it, and you're only requesting 130,000.
I'll take more if you've got it in the back.
I mean, because
but yes,
I know
ma'am.
your work, and I've
Yes, ma'am.
I've invested, and I know the work,
Yes, ma'am.
and I know what you do. And as Chairwoman White beautifully stated, you know, $250,000 is nothing. No. That's no money.
Yes,
but when you're dealing with our children in the city, and we're constantly beating them up and talking about this and this and this and this and that, it's the taxpayers' dollars anyway that we are talking about and sitting up here talking about, that we pay taxes. And with your program and what you're doing, you're just at 130, and that's just 12%. But the work that you do is awesome. And because it's awesome to me, and all the work that is because you Christ-centered it, and it's so much bigger. And just now, you only have 93 from
Yes, ma'am.
400 and...
Yes, ma'am. And I'll speak to that. We are very dependent on getting referrals from juvenile court. I personally can't stand that, because what I want to do is reach these kids before they even get to the juvenile justice system. So it is my hope to reach out to entities like Shelby County Schools, maybe the truancy office, alternative schools, to try to reach and get referrals. And we can take community referrals as well. We do have the ability to do that, but we've been very dependent in the past upon juvenile court. And if we don't get the referrals from them, we just don't get the kids. Okay. So it's going to be my mission, and in fact, it's in the PowerPoint. My goal for 2025 is to increase the number of community referrals that we get for JIF. But it is my hope to reach out to entities like Shelby County Schools to get other referrals.
So you want to engage and be more impactful with the community. That's
Yes,
what you're
ma'am.
saying.
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
You will see me at every community event, every conference, every tabling event that I can possibly get to. So
now you're included in the mayor's budget. The 130,000, and that's included in your budget this year.
Yes.
Your mayor.
Yes.
All right. Will that be enough to? What's your end goal for December? Because we're 6 months now into this, and you only have 93.
Yes, ma'am.
And then when I hear you talk about a couple of years ago, you had 460 something or 400. I don't want to misrepresent the number.
Right.
But
so,
however,
for our budget, we just had our board meeting, and so our goal for next year is to have a revenue of at least $3 million. Right now, we're on track for $1 million. So we've set some lofty goals, but we're going to work towards it as a team to try to find those funds. Some sort of way.
Thank you, Chairwoman. And I think the mayor, you have included some amazing initiatives for these grants and helping, because the juveniles, we talk about it all the time. We're talking about them, we beat them down, we talk about how horrible they are and what they're doing in our city, but we're going to have to invest the dollars in organizations and places where it's working and we can see a difference. So thank you for what you're doing, and thank you, Mayor, for including them. Thank you, Chairwoman.
Mm-hmm. Great comments. Seeing no other members in the queue. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilwoman Swearingen Washington.
Thank you. I guess this question is for Chief Davis. I feel like the police department would be helpful in referring some children.
To Jeff?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, excuse me.
Because you all know which children
we do
need support.
And in previous years, well, since I've been here, we have had a relationship with JIF. We've had events over at the JIF facility. We do the prom dresses and things for our young ladies. So we are very much invested. Our community engagement unit is with JIF and the work that they do. Very, very well worth effort by this entity.
Is there any way that you could send some kind of communication to the different precincts to maybe suggest some youth?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think they do anyway because our community engagement officers at some of the precincts in our neighborhood watch officers are involved and they're at that JIF facility on a regular basis. But to spread it throughout the city, you know, their location I think is one that I think is worth at least trying to refer other kids that are in other areas of the city too.
Thank you. And Ms. Allen, Marsha Allen with the neighborhood, with the community centers, if you could talk to the leaders or the managers at the different sites, because they have a pulse of what's going on in the community and have a relationship with children, and if they identify them, that would be a great resource as well. All right, thank you.
Thank you for those comments, Councilwoman Swear Washington.
Put up the information so it could be if someone want to go back, where your location, your number, and all of that, and it'll give the public an opportunity since we're live streaming.
Yes.
It'll give them an opportunity to know where you are and how to reach you. If they want a private citizen, probably want to meet you, they can have that opportunity to do that.
Absolutely. You all look on the screen. It says 254 South Lauderdale, 901-522-8502. And the website is www.jifyouth.org. And we have Executive Director Chris Yancey here with us today. One thing I will say, it's pertaining to actually the comments from Councilwoman Cooper Sutton as well as Councilwoman Swearingen Washington. One thing that I've been talking to the joint office, the people from VSIF. I hadn't gotten a chance to really sit down with Chief Davis yet, but us figuring out how to better fill in our gaps of communication and how we fill in this cycle of what's going on. And one of the things in terms of what you just said is your work is necessary. I mean, it's not like we don't have the need.
Yeah,
the need is there.
Yeah, right,
So we need to figure out how to connect the need with the people who, with the resources. And so one of the things, Mayor, this is something everybody else is throwing their things out here. I propose this to you. I know you started out with talking to the faith-based community about owning your block, and we were talking about it in terms of blight. I would love for us to challenge faith-based leaders to own their block in terms of saving the souls on their block. So when we build up these coalitions in these churches, they get together, and if something happens over in their neighborhood, we don't have to wait for the police department to refer or whomever. The police department can say, we're going to call the lead bishop who's over the faith-based community from this block to this block. You already have your squad trained. You go out to these people and you get them into JIF, or you get them into one of these services that are already there. We need more volunteers and involvement, but I think we're gonna have to be the people who convene those volunteers. I think the people are willing. I think the faith-based community is willing. We gotta get back to street ministry. And I think if we don't see right now, if we don't get out in these streets, the streets coming to us. And so I think this is a great opportunity for me to throw that out there. I'm willing for us to talk offline anytime about it. But I think that, like Chief Davis said in that press conference, we got to get our children, and these are our children. We didn't birth them, but these are our children. We got to get them and get them the help that they need in the places that they need to be before we see them in a way that we don't want to see them in the streets.
Agreed wholeheartedly.
But thank you so much for your presentation. And I think the last one is LeBoner.
And as LeBoner is coming, I want to correct something because Councilwoman Green asked me about did we fund them over the past year. When I said no, I actually meant we didn't have a line item for them in the past year. They did, just like they did, applied for the Safer Communities grants that were a part of that $2 million. So they did receive $50,000. And I think LeBoner did too, actually. So 3 of the 4 did receive funding out of that bucket.
Mm-hmm. Good afternoon.
Now it is. Can you hear me okay? I'm Dr. Williams. I'm a pediatric surgeon and the trauma medical director at LeBoner Children's Hospital, and I'm the medical director of our SHIFT program, which is our hospital-based violence intervention program.
I'm Lydia Walker, and I am the program manager for SHIFT as well as our eShift program, which is just expanded SHIFT, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that includes.
We're not going to spend a lot of time on LeBoner. You know, we're the Children's Hospital. We care deeply about the children in the Mid-South and have a very busy level 1 trauma center where we see a surprisingly high number of firearm injuries, which is why we started this program in 2022.
So we have our objectives here. And the biggest thing is that we focus highly on not having re-injury. We want to not just improve the patient and the family outcomes, but we are actually focused on educational goals as well as making sure that there isn't, I was about to say trauma recidivism again, but that there, sorry. So that, oh, my brain just went like that. You know how you have a thought in your head. But anyway, we work as a multidisciplinary team. So we have a team that actually rounds with those patients once they come into the hospital. That includes our mental health counselors, our nurse practitioners, just a whole host along with our violence intervention specialists. And these teams are working towards the goal of making sure that our families' social, emotional, and mental health needs are actually going to be met. So that is, everything that you see here is important information, but we want to skinny it down and get to the point. Go ahead, Reagan.
So why does a hospital-based violence intervention program works? We develop trusting relationships with our patients as soon as they come into the hospital. Some of our patients are there for a day, some are there for a few months, but we have a little bit of a captive audience where we can develop that relationship, understand what their needs are, and connect them with people in the community to provide those needs. For our first 2 years, we enrolled 141 patients. You can see our results there. We're very data-driven. We want to make sure that we're doing the right thing for our patients. We change what we do all the time based on the needs of the patient to make sure that we're doing the most good. And so you can see in the first 2 years, we lowered trauma re-injury rates. We reduced truancy. Only about 60% of our patients were enrolled and actively attending school when they came into the hospital, and we improved that to 80%. We also reduced juvenile justice engagement. We provide a lot of mental health support, both for the patient and their families and their parents. And this was shown to improve resiliency in our families over 6 to 12 months. So we're proud of what we do. We need to continue to be funded. Actually, the city started our program in 2022 with funding, with ARPA funding. Without the support of the city, we never would have started this program. As the mayor said, we weren't funded last year, but we did apply for the Safer Community Grant and receive $50,000. And so we're asking for $140,000. That's about 16% of our budget. Our total budget is around $870,000. And if you want to see what we spend it on, there it is. And we're happy to answer any questions.
Yes.
Thank you. We have Councilman Warren in the queue.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for showing that you don't have to be my age to have your brain just sort of flip. I was wanting to know and maybe get you to explain to the council how your violence intervention program integrates in with the GVIP program, how that's all coordinated into one sort of program. And I guess the problem we've been trying to figure out as a council is how can we measure how this works? Because it's really hard to prove when you stop somebody from actually killing somebody else because it didn't happen. Right. So how are you guys integrated in that system so people can understand here on the dais?
Sure. So the GVIP program, the Group Violence Intervention Program, started in 2022. We were one of the original members of it. As I said, we're in the intervention arm, so we enrolled children that are victims of violent injuries at the time of their injury and their families. We meet with the city as well as our partners every other week to talk about our families and to really determine how we best treat them. They're all a little bit different. Their needs are different. Every kid that comes into our hospital is different. And so we have a lot of community partners that we meet with, the GVIT being one of them, so we can figure out how to support our family. Is that at school? Is that in their neighborhood? Is that at their church? Is that why they're in the hospital? It's just very different for each one of our children. And so we've been very engaged with GVIP over the years. We submit data to them on the patients that we're enrolling. They also supported the hospital-based violence intervention program at the adult hospital, Regional 1. We work very close with Regional 1 Hospital, as some of our families from one incident might have some patients at the adult hospital and some at the children's hospital.
One thing I want to add, when you mention tracking this information, there's difficulty having agreement in what to track, basically. So HAVI, the Health Alliance for Violence Intervention, they really haven't come up with a consensus way for every HVIP program to track this information. So that's why we chose to focus on those goals that were most important. We realized that if they don't come in with a re-injury, that's one aspect of tracking it. If they are not further or not involved further with juvenile court, that's another aspect. And educational goals. So those three things are concrete. We measure them when they come in. You're either in school or you're not in school, or you plan to return to school, so we're measuring that, and then at the end, the outcome of those.
I agree that I think it's really hard to figure out exactly how you measure success with this, and those are really good measurements. I don't know how we can convert those to adult measurements other than we don't see you back in jail, we don't see you shot, and we see you working. And, you know, so I guess those are things we're going to have to try to figure out what we do with the adult GVIP program. Thank you for leading the way.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you all. Councilwoman Walker.
Thank you. I see $1,400 for communications. Exactly what is that being used for?
I think that's for like what we call our hall racks. So we have our rack cards.
Right,
Yes,
yeah.
you can talk about them because you made them.
So we are distributing these rack cards to our families when they come inpatient. We have the connection with juvenile court, the expanded shift program. So we have to create those as well to have for the juvenile court staff to be able to give that to families. I know that there's something else that I'm not thinking of, but yeah.
Also, our violence intervention specialists, which we have 4.8 of, have cell phones that come under communications as well. We found recently they were using their own cell phones for the communication, and one thing that we've realized over the last 3 years is that this work is hard, and that we have to support our workers so that they can show up every day for our patients. And so we are currently in the process of providing cell phones to them as well, so that they can turn off when they're not at work.
Okay, thank you for that, Madam Chair. I yield the floor.
Thank you. And I think I speak for all of us when we say thank you all for the hard work that you all do. We know it's not easy to treat young people who have been traumatized and injured in the way that you all have to see. We keep you all lifted up in our prayers, and we thank you all so much for your hard work.
Thank you for your message earlier. Appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you
all.
All right, so we've heard from all of the grantees. We're going to move on to our resolutions. First, we're going to start with resolution number 5. Just 1 second, you all. All right, you all, we're going to go to resolution number 5. Can I get a motion and a second?
Move it. Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Swearingen Washington, second by Councilman Warren. This is one that we looked at our last meeting. However, our Councilwoman Cooper Sutton was not present, and she's here today. Councilwoman Cooper Sutton, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chairwoman White. This resolution that is very important, and I think it aligns with everything that we're doing here in the city as far as blight, illegal dumping, and what I wanted to do was with the neighborhoods and with the communities and with the CDCs was give incentives to those that are really doing the hard work and trying to keep their communities clean and trying to really keep their blocks clean and recognize them for it. It's their tax dollars. And I think we need to do something more into giving back in the community to show how much we appreciate the hard work, because that's a lot of work. reporting, calling 311 or trying to do it. I get a lot of phone calls. I get a lot of emails, and they take out their time of the day to go and try to encourage their neighbors in their community. So I wanted to do an incentive and to boost our community and our citizens and our constituents, that we do see them. And this is a program that I want to incentivize. And it's $250,000 that I've put aside, that I found that is budget neutral. Didn't have to go and take it from anybody that needed their money. And wanted to make sure that the people and the citizens of Memphis and the constituents of Memphis know that we're really trying to put dollars, just not in their pockets, because we know what the economy looks like here, but let them know how much we appreciate them reporting and keeping their communities in their neighborhoods and their reporting up to par. So this is what my resolution is about. It may not be much to some people, but it's a lot to those when you can show people that you appreciate them by giving them something. All of us in this room love being given something for our hard work and being appreciated, whether it's your bonus, what is your raise. You want some type of monetary incentive or some type of gift card, gas card. And so this is what these funds will be doing for us here in Memphis, Shelby County. Thank you, Chairwoman.
Thank you, Councilwoman Cooper Sutton. We have Chairman Canali in the queue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Councilwoman, who is in charge of verifying if these are accurate? And is it just if you make the phone call? Or,
We're going to,
or log it in through the 311 system?
We're going to set up a system to verify, to make sure that the reporting is accurate. And so we are working on how that would look doing FY26.
Okay.
I've been out, and so I was kind of thrown back a little bit and kind of set back a little bit, but we're going to have a system that's set up that will be able to verify that this actually happened, and we would like to bring them also before the city council and recognize them as well.
Okay, and then when the money runs out, it runs out?
When the money runs out, it runs out.
Okay. Thank you, Councilwoman. Chief Gibson?
I think I can cover what she was going to say. I think she wanted to make a clarification with regards to giving the dollars directly to individuals, which we can't do. However, we can work through specific qualified nonprofits. And so we wanted to make sure that part was clear. But
the CDCs, that's why I said the CDCs.
Exactly.
Yes.
But yeah, those CDCs would be the qualified entities to receive the dollars from the city.
Okay, and this is coming out of the new Division of Neighborhood Improvement?
Yes, and I think Ms. Neal has already, yes, Ms. Neal has already had some dialogues, and I think the administration's in support.
How does this affect your budget, Ms. Neal? I know you're starting out with a limited budget anyway. I don't want to do anything that would cause any harm to you getting your new division propped up.
Yes, sir. We would be allocating funds from our ground services operation to our environmental enforcement operation to promote the program that Councilwoman Cooper Sutton is referring to. So again, it's budget neutral, it's internal rather than mitigation. We would be using it for engagement.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilwoman Swearingen Washington.
Answer my question. So your division would be managing this?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And I think this question has been answered, but I wanted to just make sure I'm clear. It doesn't have any new fiscal obligation to it in terms of personnel or staff or anything in terms of manning this?
No, ma'am, not at all.
So you currently have capacity to be able to,
Yes.
to handle this?
Definitely,
Okay.
yes.
No other members in the queue? All right, let's take a vote. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed?
I'm a no.
The ayes have it.
Yeah, that was a weak eye.
Okay, we're going to resolution number. All right, going to resolution number 6. Can I have a motion in a second?
Move it.
Second.
Motion from Councilwoman Swearingen Washington, second from Councilman Warren. This is sponsored by Councilwoman Walker.
Thank you.
Yes.
The resolution before you today makes a targeted amendment to the FY26 operating budget by reallocating a total of $53,500 from my individual council community grant allocation. Specifically, it designates 2 community-focused grants. $50,000 will go to the BLP Studios to assist with a proposed development that has the potential to bring major economic development and cultural investment to the community, and $3,500 for the Gregory and Kimberly Price Foundation, which will support 2 key Whitehaven events, the Cigar and Whiskey Festival and the Easter Egg Hunt. This action reduces my FY26 grant balance to $146,500 and ensures these funds are directed with purpose. The resolution also includes clear spending guidelines and documentation requirements to ensure transparency and accountability. I respectfully ask for your support. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any members in the queue? And so I guess I just wanted to be clear. So
Sure.
This is a request just solely from what you would have allocated from your grant funds.
Yes.
Looks like all hearts and minds are clear.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, you may, Councilwoman.
I have absolutely no problem with you spending your grant money the way that it's supposed to be the way that you want it allocated. I'm just wondering if it's circumventing the grant process that we have in place. Like, so all of the other checks and balances that we do beforehand were already done. Is that a yes? Yes. Okay. I just want to make sure because I don't want us to get in a place where we aren't abiding by those rules. There's another body that I deal with across the street that doesn't have as strict rules as we do about where and how we spend our money and if they're 501(c)(3)s and if their budget and all that. We do a great job over here, I think, of checks and balances. And so I just wanted to make sure that all that's done too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Real boss lady in the back row.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right, moving on to resolution number 3. Can I have a motion and second?
Move it.
Motion from Councilwoman Walker, second from Councilwoman Green. This is Councilwoman Green's resolution to amend the fiscal year 2026 operating budget. Councilwoman Green, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. And I would note for the record that there's multiple sponsors, myself, Councilman Spinoza, Councilwoman Easter Thomas, Councilman Smiley, and Councilman Dr. Warren. So it's not just my resolution. But I think that I did not have a chance today to sit down with Chief Person. We'd hoped to in the many hours before this meeting today. But I think there are a couple of details that we need to get firm numbers on that were presented last time. I'm happy to walk through them today if this body wants, and we can get questions here, or we can try to bring back an amended resolution if we think we're going to have further budget hearings.
So you want to know if we're going to proceed today or if you want to...
So I'll give you an example. You know, the CFO and I talked on the phone yesterday. I said, I need a real number for exactly what it would mean to reduce 3 animal services provisions because we have an estimate in here. I would like to know what the real number is. So I would like to be able to get those real numbers. We can do that real time right here, or
no.
He said no.
Chair.
Or we can
Chairwoman,
hold
yeah.
this and we can come back if we're having more budget hearings, which I assume we are because there are multiple members who could not be here today.
Okay, so tell me this. Chief Person, is this something that you can answer and go back and forth in real time, that we can knock this out?
No, I think it's more efficient if we internally review it and then come back with concrete answers because we're speaking to very specific line items here.
You go. Then you can put resolution 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So, I talk loud.
No.
Hold this, come back, and like I said,
I second.
say yes
Did
on
he
one.
hold it? I second.
Some of it, because
this is-
I'm gonna just pull one of them out the box, okay? When you're talking about affordable housing, hell, that's my neighborhood.
There you go.
Don't play with my neighborhood no more. Y'all talking about crime.
And I want to look
Stay
at the
with it.
general fund for group life insurance.
Yeah, but that's why we're not gonna discuss it no more
Well, hold on.
right now.
Hold on. All right, let's do this.
Chair.
Mm-hmm.
If there are anything like group life insurance, I know we have talked about that could be cleared up right now for the full body, that's fine, but I'm happy to bring back a fully amended resolution. But if there's, I know that's come up and we've had discussions and, you know, the line items are what the line items are. So it's just like the 650. It went from 000 to 650, but there's an explanation behind it that's different than what we see in our book. So if there's something like that, that the mayor or CFO want to speak to right now, I'm open to that.
Okay, for the first one, I think that Chief Fouché was the one who spoke to that and was saying that that was a line item that couldn't be reduced. Is that something that we want to address right now, Chief Fouché, or repeat what you said already?
Good.
Yes, Mayor.
Can I propose that we just come back with a revised
That's perfect.
amendment? We can have some more discussions, because I don't want us to have the discussion and then we have the conversation behind the scenes and it's different anyway. So.
Absolutely, Mayor. We will defer to you on that one. Seeing that there are no other members in the queue, I do want to ask, are there any members who have any dire questions that need to be answered right now? Okay. Seeing none, this wrap-up is convened. It's been a joy to see all of you all this evening and to serve as your vice chair. We're going to come back here tomorrow at 2:30. We'll be back tomorrow, 2:30.